Hello everyone, welcome back to Smith Does Games, where all week we are firmly focused on E3 2018, and going to get straight into this one. It is another game that has already been announced in some fashion, and it's just something I'm hoping to see more about, and it is the new From Software project, currently known as Shadows Die Twice. All we've seen for this game so far is a teaser, like a real teaser of... I can't remember how long it was, like 30 seconds or something of footage, and at the end all it said was Shadows Die Twice. Now it's unclear whether Shadows Die Twice is like a tagline or whether it's the title of the new game, but all we know is it's being developed by From Software, and that is enough to get on my list, pretty much. Dark Souls is probably my favourite game of all time, and anything that comes out of that studio is going to be something I'm interested in. As for what this game is, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumour. One of the earliest kind of theories that came out, I mean, immediately everybody's knee-jerk reaction was, oh, it's going to be Bloodborne 2. It had kind of like that dark vibe to the trailer. It kind of looked like maybe a trick weapon was being showcased in the teaser trailer. There was blood all over it and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, like, it looked like it could definitely be Bloodborne 2. So that is one option. The next theory that came out pretty quickly after that, after a little bit of analysis on that teaser trailer, was that this could be a new Tenchu game. Now, I've not actually played any of the games in the Tenchu franchise, but looking into it definitely looks like it could be up my street. It is an action-adventure stealth game where you play as a ninja during 16th century Japan. Now, that sounds dope. I definitely am in for that. Also, looking into it, From Software have been responsible for publishing Tenchu. They've developed like a couple of games in the franchise, and they've been responsible for publishing the Tenchu games since the series' third entry back in 2003. So it's definitely an IP they have connections with. So it is, absolutely possible that this is what they're working on. Now, I think this would be awesome. I'd love to see From Software apply their kind of talents to something that wasn't just like a Soulsborne action-adventure game, sort of with RPG elements. Now, don't get me wrong, if it does go that way, I'm going to be over the moon, because I'm always going to want to play more of those games. But if it is something new, I think that can only really be good. So, some time ago, I believe it was last year, Hidetaka Miyazaki, the president of From Software, said that they were working actively on 3 games. Now, we know one of those games is Armored Core. The other 2 games, I believe, were described as something like an entirely new project and something that you more like what you would expect from the company. Now, that third one most people took to mean Bloodborne 2, but obviously it is possible that all that means is another game in the kind of Souls-like style, and then this third one could be entirely different. Now, for my hopes, I don't want this to be Bloodborne 2. Personally. Now, I think Bloodborne is the best game From Software has ever made. Now, I know I said earlier that Dark Souls is my favourite game of all time, and Dark Souls is my favourite game of all time, but I can see its shortcomings, especially with the remaster version just coming out. You play some elements of it, and there's definitely just some quality of life stuff and just certain things which have been kind of tweaked and streamlined in their later games, and I think Bloodborne probably represents the apex of their ability. I think it represents the apex of Miyazaki's creativity and just like fucked up imagination as a game director, and it's a true masterpiece, I think. And so it's not that I don't want Bloodborne 2 to exist, it's more that, okay, I think what this boils down to is I just hope whatever Shadows Die Twice is, I think the most important thing is that it is being helmed by Hidetaka Miyazaki. He was the man responsible for Demon Souls, for Dark Souls 1 and for Bloodborne. And I believe he had some guiding hand in Dark Souls 3, but I don't think was the kind of lead on it. So when he left the Dark Souls team to go and start working on Bloodborne, that was when the B team got put on to make Dark Souls 2, which by all accounts is the weakest in the series, and definitely kind of stands in the community's mind as a bit of a black sheep of the Dark Souls family. And even Dark Souls 3, which I know a lot of people love and is genuinely a very good game. I mean, it's Dark Souls, so it's going to be better than most other stuff out there. But like, my view on Dark Souls 3 is it just wasn't as engaging to me. I played it, I enjoyed it for sure. But I've gone back and replayed Dark Souls 1 a number of times since Dark Souls 3's come out, and I've never felt the need to do so with Dark Souls 3. Just because it feels like more of the same. It feels too safe. And I think From Software and Miyazaki are at their best when they are kind of doing something new and allowed to just go wild with whatever they want to do. And that was what happened with Bloodborne. And really that was what happened with sort of Demon Souls and Dark Souls. They were completely new ideas. And so because of that, I just want to know that whatever this game is, it is being helmed by Miyazaki. I think he is the kind of secret ingredient to a lot of their best stuff. And that would go a really long way in securing my excitement for this game, which, I mean, let's be honest, I'm already excited for. And that's pretty much the reason I say I don't really want it to be Bloodborne 2. It seems like, based on past events, Miyazaki doesn't have too much interest in making sequels. It seems like he's a person that wants to move on and make new things. And as somebody that wants to play new things, I think I'd love to see him go off and create a new IP somewhere. Now, whether that is work, I know Tenchu's not a new IP, but it would be kind of a new direction for the modern From Software as we know them. So whether it is that, or whether it is an entirely new IP, but more akin to that kind of Souls-like formula with more of like a kind of challenging action-adventure game, I don't know. And honestly, either would be fine. The chances are, whatever it is, I'm going to be interested in it and I'm probably going to buy it. But those are the things that I most hope it is. I think Tenchu, I'd be really interested to see what Tenchu looks like. Obviously, if it's something new, but in that kind of Souls-like formula, that's exciting, and I'm gonna want to play that, and I'm really interested to see what it is. The kind of best thing about this game, though, is that almost worst-case scenario is Bloodborne 2, which is not a worst-case scenario by any stretch of the imagination. Like, Bloodborne 2 would be great. Now, another thing that does leave me to kind of want this not to be Bloodborne 2 is that my understanding is that Sony owns Bloodborne as an IP, which means that Bloodborne 2, as with the first game, would most likely be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. That's fine for me. I do own a PlayStation 4. Obviously, I played Bloodborne, but I would rather not see another exclusive. My hope is, if it is of that kind of like Souls-like genre, that it is the kind of Dark Souls to Bloodborne's Demon Souls, if you will. So where Demon Souls was kind of this new idea being implemented and it was a Sony exclusive, Dark Souls was then published multi-platform and kind of expanded on all the ideas that Demon Souls brought to the table. Now, if we get something similar to that, like with Bloodborne, so a faster paced game in that same kind of framework, with trick weapons and all of that sort of stuff, but it is almost more akin to like a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, which is multi-platform, I think that would be like a real win. I don't want another game which a bunch of people can't play. And I know PS4 is the more popular console, but I have friends who would like to play Bloodborne and can't because they have Xbox Ones. And it'll be a shame to see more fantastic games from what is one of the best development studios in the world at this point be kind of locked off to one section of the market. So, like I say, if it turns out to be Bloodborne 2, then that's the worst case scenario and I'm still happy. So I can't really see this going any way other than getting me excited for this game. The only thing that could maybe put a dampener on it would be if we find out that this isn't whatever the project that Miyazaki's working on. That's obviously going to be their kind of premiere project. That's going to be their A-team working with him. So, but they have said there's 3 games in development, and we know about Armored Core, we now know about Shadows Die Twice, so who knows, maybe we'll see something else. I mean, my prediction is probably that Shadows Die Twice isn't Bloodborne 2, and that we get something about Bloodborne 2 at E3 this year. That's my prediction that I'm putting down, but like I say, I don't think this one can go wrong, really. It's more From Software, so I'm just excited about it. What do you guys think? What do you think Shadows Die Twice is? And would you like to see it be Bloodborne 2, or would you rather see From Software go and explore some new avenue? Let me know down in the comments and give me a like if you want. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk about the final game I want to see at E3 this year. Thanks very much. Bye.